session, you'll receive an email link to complete the attendance. You've got to fill that out in 24 hours. And then if you are a BCS employee, you'll get your frontline link for that. And if you're a non-BCS employee, you'll get a certificate. That does not come from me or Danielle. And so if you have any questions, just contact your BCS folks who have been in contact with you. All right. The bit.ly should be on most of our links that we have here. If you will, just go ahead and make sure you take a minute to answer that poll as you can.
If you are not sure how to get there, if you a little triangle, square, and circle in the bottom right corner, you'll see an option for poll. If you can go ahead and just put your vote in on there.
All right. And Danielle, I'm not sure that I can see those results as they're coming in. So
yeah, it looks like we have a good mix. Most are familiar enough. They've used it once or twice. A couple of pros, and then some that this might be their first time with Edpuzzle. So,
all right.
So a good mix here.
Yeah, just like a classroom.
Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, we instead of what is Edpuzzle? It's a video lesson. Is kind of the broad video or the broad picture of it. You embed questions and what we call events. So questions or notes or links or images, things like that. And it keeps your students, we're not going to watch this. It keeps your students engaged in their learning. If you are brand spanking new to Edpuzzle, this video is a quick, just kind of commercial, Edpuzzle commercial, if you will, to explain, an overview of what it is. But by being in here with us today, you're going to have some time to really get your feelers in and get your feet wet with this. So if you have not created an Edpuzzle account, let's go ahead and do that. If you do have an Edpuzzle account, if you'll just go ahead and get logged in, we're going to do a couple of beginning of school year, just really quick housekeeping things. So if you are logging in for the first time, you're going to go to edpuzzle.com, and it's going to kind of just walk you through some creation questions. Signing up, you're a teacher. Make sure you always sign in with your district's email domain. And if this is your first time, or if when you log on to Edpuzzle and there's a blue banner at the top that says, please verify your email, make sure you pop on over into your inbox to verify that. That just, of course, helps us know that you are who you say you are, but it's also another level of safety and security, which is super important to us here at Edpuzzle. So don't forget to get that verification done. That seems to be a step that a lot of us miss. So at edpuzzle.com, and then you're logging in or creating an account. Once we get that done, if you guys could just maybe pop something in the chat, give me a thumbs up or something, even react with a thumbs up, because I'm actually going to pop out of the slide deck here in a little bit and kind of be in the platform with you. So I see some thumbs up, rocking and rolling. If you are waiting on me, just like in the classroom, as I'm sure some of you guys do too, when it's appropriate, you guys are the masters of your learning. You know what you know, and you know what you don't know. And so as I'm going through this, you have access to this slide deck. If whatever I'm going over is something that you're an old pro at and you want to look at the next thing, you're welcome to do that. We'll kind of go through together at a pretty steady pace. But if that is something that you want to do, you are in charge of your own learning. And then I can answer questions and stuff once you get there. If you are like, yep, there is some stuff in here that I'm kind of familiar with, but maybe you're wanting to hear some new ways to use them, or some new updates or things, some tips and tricks, that's what we'll do. And if you are brand new to Edpuzzle, then you will be clicking right along with me. So I've seen lots of thumbs up. I've seen, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So we're going to look at our top 5, really 6 of our favorite things in Edpuzzle. Some of these we'll camp out at a little bit longer. Some of them we'll just kind of mention and breeze on through. The first thing I want to make sure that we all know is our Edpuzzle originals. So There's over 3,000 of those videos created. These little GIFs you can see are just quick little glimpses of what our math, ELA, and social studies ones look like. That's all right, Carol. You just move along, and then when you get popped back in, we'll get you all called up. They are standards aligned, and so here on the next slide, you'll see all of these lovely alignment guides for ELA, math, science, and social studies. So when you click on those, it's going to take you to a document. Let's see if it'll load. There we go. This is called an error table, but what this error table is you can just see the standards here, the links to the Edpuzzle originals, and then the standard tags. So that's one way to find your Edpuzzle originals. If I were you, if you teach any of these things, especially, I always forget to switch back to my other tab. If you teach any of these things, especially if you are from grades 3 to 8 and moving, and we're continuing to move up, but we started the alignment process with 3rd through 8th grade. If you are not 3rd through 8th grade, don't let me lose you here. There's still something for you to be found, and I will show you that. But I would advise that you maybe grab these, bookmark these error tables, have them where when you're planning your lessons, you can jump in and you can look to see what resources Edpuzzle Originals already have there. The other way to find your Edpuzzle Originals, and if you want to, while I'm talking, if this is something that you've done before using Edpuzzle Originals, I would love to hear that in the chat. Or see that in the chat. I would love if you wanted to come off and talk, but if you don't want to, that's totally fine too. There is still a ton on there for secondary folks. So that's what I wanted us to look at is, you see, these are the categories that we have. The way that I got there, in case you're not familiar, when I logged into Edpuzzle, just on my Edpuzzle landing page, over here to the left is Edpuzzle Originals. So I just clicked on that, and these are our categories that we have as of right now. We're continuing to build out, and we're continuing to align. Each of them are laid out a little differently once you click inside the actual content folder. So you can see that math is in the bands that are being taught. So the numbers in base 10, operations and algebraic thinking, and so on. So you can see it says align to 4th grade standards, align to 3rd grade standards. As we all know, as educators, there is a place for intervention as well as enrichment. So if you have a 5th grader who needs, I taught 5th grade for almost 10 years, and that fractions is so heavy. And that was always seemed to be a skill that we needed to cover, or a gap in knowledge. These are great for those types of interventions and reteaching there. I'll just go in and click on a folder so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is what our math ones are. All of our math Edpuzzle originals are I do, we do, you do modeled. And so when you click on them, you'll see that there's kind of a gap in that first little bit of the video. That's obviously the I do part, and then you've got your we do and the you do. Now, Edpuzzle Originals, just like any other video lesson on Edpuzzle, you do still have the ability to edit the questions, change things up, cut it, do whatever you need to. So you can see there's some other versions of this video here. There's actually 258 other versions where people have edited it in order to make sure that you are getting the one from Edpuzzle. It'll always say Edpuzzle Originals up here at the top, so that's how you know that you're getting the OG, the original one from our team. So that was a quick look into math. You've got science that is set up a little differently. I would still say that these elementary ones, you guys know your students, you know your instruction. I would still say that these are they're not too like little kid or cartoonish by any means. And so I think that there's definitely, even if it says elementary, but you see a topic that you teach as a secondary teacher, I would say still go ahead and take a peek at it. Because like I said, you can always change those and edit that to fit those specific needs. So that is a really quick rundown of what Edpuzzle Originals are. Does anybody have any experience with Edpuzzle Originals? Have you used Edpuzzle Originals? Or are these kind of something that's new or newer to most of us? We got some good reactions with the the little reaction thing. So if you want to give me a thumbs up if you've used it, or a heart, something like that, or pop it into the chat. Okay, cool. And so what I want us to do for the first little bit, because there's lots of ways that Edpuzzle Originals can be used in the classroom. They can be whole group instruction. They can be introducing a unit. They can be within a unit. Lots of things. And so one thing too, and if you haven't used it in a while, last year we started with about 1,200 Edpuzzle Original lessons at the beginning of the school year. And like I said, now we've got over 3,000. So if you didn't see something that you were interested in then, arguably you'll be able to find something now. The two subjects that I do want to point out that, because a lot of people will ask what grade levels are these made for, or what kind of age group. And obviously they're aligned to specific standards, but for the most part, I think they're pretty flexible depending on what you teach or who you teach. I will say your ELA ones, if you scroll down to like your parts of speech, your punctuation and capitalization, sentence structure and whatnot, those ones those are the ones that we started with. These are a little more elementary. You'll see with the cartoon, if you teach elementary and you're familiar with Moby Max, they follow the same patterns or Max and Moby. And so those are a little more elementary facing. I used them I had no problem using things like this with my 5th graders, but I understand, as you get older, that's a little different. Now the poetry, you can see, is a different aesthetic, if you will. It's not quite as elementary there. So I want you guys to take a little bit of time, and we're going to look through those. The social studies ones, you'll notice, are sorted by upper elementary and middle school, or middle and high. If you are teaching lower elementary and there's something in here that you want, as with any video that before you assign it, preview the video and make sure that it's appropriate for your students. I have a son going into the 1st grade, and he's super into the 13 colonies and early exploration that time. And so I have pulled these videos up before and just kind of taken some of it out or changed some of the questions because he is 7. And so just keeping that in mind, but they are pretty flexible as you go. But as always, y'all are the ones who know best for your students. All right, so what I want us to do is, I have that it is 10:16. I would like to give you guys a little bit of time to click around, play around, maybe take some time to bookmark these alignment guides. So it's 10:16. I'm just going to give us 4 minutes for sake of time. But for 4 minutes, I'd like for you to click around and find an Edpuzzle original that you think would be something that you could add value to your instruction, even within the first couple weeks of school. So go ahead and do that for 4 minutes. And spoiler alert, on the next slide, I'm going to ask you to share out some of your ideas or to paste an example of what you found. So just keep that in mind. And Danielle shared the bit.ly one more time in the chat. So, all right, 3 minutes now. I'll stop talking. So if you're just joining us, then we've talked about Edpuzzle Originals, and we're just kind of clicking around and finding some of those. If you make sure you get logged into your Edpuzzle account, because we'll be rocking and rolling in that for a little bit. If you are done clicking around, we've got on the next slide a Jamboard. And so if you want to take, or I would love, what we're going to do next is take a few minutes to put some ideas, a way or two that you could see Edpuzzle Originals being used in your instruction. So Danielle has shared that Jamboard in the chat, and you should have access to that Jamboard now. Yes, Cindy, digital citizenship has great content. It's really good, and it's aligned. I think we've got that on the yeah. So it's aligned to the ISTE. There's ISTE alignment guides too. All right. So as you're wrapping up, fine. Go ahead and you can add to one of those sticky notes. You can add your own, or you can grab one of those pluses and add that to someone else. To what they say if you would like, but we just want to grab an idea or two of ways that you can see using Edpuzzle Originals in your instruction. Whoever just made that sticky note bigger, thank you, because I was getting ready to do it because I was like, I cannot read what that says. Oh, I love it. A full unit on early colonization. One thing with our history or our social studies videos is that, well, with all of our Edpuzzle Originals, but heavily focused on social studies, we partnered with DEI specialists to make sure that we were accurately and adequately portraying history, and so that all of our students are able to be seen. And so that was something that was very important to us, was to make sure that DEI specialists felt confident in what we were putting out. Awesome. Some really, really great ideas. Y'all feel free to keep adding to that. We'd love to see those, and you'll have access to this too. So when it comes, a couple weeks down the road and you're like, wait, I want to try this out again, but I cannot remember. My brain was just on back to school overload. This will be a good place for you to be able to revisit and go back to. So for sake of time, I'm going to keep on rolling, and we'll go to our next thing. So our next favorite thing that we love is live mode. It is one of my favorite parts of our platform. It's been out for a while, and if you've used live mode in the chat, I'd love for you, or even a thumbs up or something, just to know if anyone has used live mode. It is a really great way to get information and data in a more teacher-paced way. So a lot of our traditional assignments in Edpuzzle are obviously student-based. They're completing them on their own. The way live mode works is that it's very similar, if you're familiar, to how Kahoot is set up, to where there's the video on the board, and then the students are answering the questions. It's a kind of a less gamified version of Kahoot, if you will. So teachers presenting, everyone watches the video together, students are answering on the back end. One thing I love about live mode is that once a question has been answered, then it shows up, and you can show the answers, but without the students seeing whose names are tied to that. And so it's a really great way but you're still getting that information on the back end. You're still getting that data and, who answered what, but it's a really great way to have conversations and open communication that way. Like I said, it's been around for quite a while, but for some reason, and I was, oh, it doesn't look like we have access. I might have to reset that. Don't click on that bit.ly, the live Edpuzzle. I'll drop in another link. And actually, we're gonna, well, no, I don't think we have time to do one today, but when you do it, it kind of like what that picture shows right there is that the video is on the teacher's screen. Students are answering the questions on their own. And then, like I said, you can have that communication, that conversation. You can address any misconceptions right there in the live of it, in the pun not intended. You can address questions right there as you're doing it, but then you're also getting that data on the back end. So some ideas for a live mode, watching a read aloud together or going on a virtual field trip. That's a really exciting one. Are the National Geographic videos that are the 360 videos. They work as well. And so that's a really cool way to get your students to experience different places. To warm up or close a lesson. It says with an Edpuzzle original, we say that or we put that because they're made for you, they're created, they're ready to rock and roll. But it could be with any video lesson. And then to review a video lesson that your students completed as homework or as, station rotation work. Some other ideas that we've seen recently are if you do station rotations or if you do group type instruction, or even if you're in more of like a self-paced instruction, but you pull students back into like small groups, you can also do live mode that way. And so like Danielle said, anytime that you pull up a video to show the whole class, assigning it through live mode is just going to be a much safer way, right? So even if you don't want to add questions to it, you just need your students to see this video. Live mode is a great way to do that as well. It just keeps it a little safer. If we get to the end of today's session and we have a little bit of time left, we'll do a live mode really quickly. But until then, I want to show y'all just how you make a lesson a live mode lesson. So I'm just going to go to my classes over here. So I just have, my classes that I've been working with. And I'm going to click on, I'll just go here. You can see my assignments that I've done with these students. And most of these are all, actually all of them are Edpuzzle originals. But anyway, and so maybe we're going to dive a little deeper into this video assignment that I wanted to do. I can click any video assignment. It's going to be right here. It's going to say live mode. And so when I do that, I literally just click it. It asks basically, are you sure? Can everyone see your screen? And then it gets pulled up. And then when my students start signing in, then I see them there. These are lessons, the Cinco de Mayo one, I know that I did as a live mode. And so you can see that I still get that same data on the back end. It says not turned in because I ended the live mode. So it didn't give them the opportunity to turn it in. So just make that note, but I can still go in and see what exactly each student wrote, what their answers were, and grade it that way. So still getting that individualized data, but delivering the lesson in a little bit of a different way. It's just a fun way to kind of shake it up too. So that is live mode in a very quick nutshell. I know a few of you have said that you have used live mode before. Does anybody want to share about how you've used live mode? All right.
I can share.
Okay, go ahead.
I always did live mode for whole class read alouds for whatever we were doing in the classroom. And immediately I would get like feedback on if my students were comprehending what we were reading or listening to.
Awesome. So again, that pun not intended, but that live feedback that you're getting as you're completing that assignment with them. All right. Given that we didn't have time to do this, we're going to skip this Jamboard collaborate part. We'll go through because I do want to make sure that we get through all of the things, including the new ones. And so I'm sure you'll be so upset that you don't have to do a Jamboard right now on this. So if you are crying tears about it, feel free to do it. Otherwise, we're going to keep it moving. All right, next up is our screen recorder. It is here and it is getting a facelift, or it has gotten a facelift. And so we're really excited to have this. If you haven't used our screen recorder, then I really suggest that even if it's not a video that you're wanting to add questions to, but it's a video that you're pushing out to students or even parents, if you ever do that, our screen recorder is the way to go. And so I will show you one thing that we need to make sure that you have is the Edpuzzle Chrome extension. So if you look up in your extensions in the top of your browser, you can't see mine because I'm only sharing my tab, but you will have a little yellow Edpuzzle piece that looks like this in your extensions, your Chrome extensions. We want to make sure that we have that because in order for our screen recorder to work the best that it can work, we need that Chrome extension in there. If that's not something that you already have, then you can just add that to your add-ons, and so, or your extension list. And I think Danielle is getting the direct link to that. So if that's something you don't have yet, then she'll make sure you have that. But while I'm here, while we're talking about it, I'm going to click on add content, and then you're going to see record the video option. We're also going to talk about student projects in a minute. We're going to do the record video option. If you don't have the Chrome extension, it'll pop up and tell you that you can't do this without it. But Danielle just put the link in the chat, and you should have, it should be a quick, pretty quick click and install, and you're good to go. If you do have it, we have the tab, the desktop, or the camera only. And so you obviously pick your microphone input, your camera input. You have the option to have a countdown and to show a recording time. And then if you have keyboard shortcuts, that's where you can edit those. And then you'll start recording. It's going to ask you, you can't see on your side, but it's asking me which tab that we want to start recording. So I'm going to click this screen recorder tab that we have. I'm going to share this tab instead. So now you can see that it gave me a quick countdown. You can see that I'm in the picture down here at the bottom. And then this is what your tab option looks like. I have my bar down here, and so I'm able to annotate things. If I want to draw your attention to the fact that we have a whiteboard option, I'm able to do that. If I want to draw your, if I want to make some kind of other annotation, I have the ability to do that. I can change it to be, if I want it just a pencil, then I can take away from the arrow, and I no longer have those arrows on the end of that. Yeah, so that's the, when you choose the option. I can also pause it, reset. Maybe I've got something going on in the background, or I've got a jet for whatever reason. I'm able to do that. And then I can go right back into it, and it picks up right where I left off. And so that is the screen recorder that we have for the tab. When I push start, where I'm now going to be able to edit my video. I can cut things out if I would like. I can trim it. I can select a thumbnail if there's a specific frame that I want to be my thumbnail. I can make it public or private, and I can rename it. So I'll save that title, and then I'm going to upload video. It tells me it's ready to be uploaded. So I'm going to upload video, and then while it prepares, it will kick out here in just a second, and then I'll be able to add any cuts, any voiceovers, or any questions to this video that I've created. Now, this is something that came out just this morning, so while we're here, I'll go ahead and show you. When I go to add a question, you now have the microphone in the answer choices and in the questions option. So we now have read aloud is what that means. And so we're so excited about that. We know that that will really support our English language learners, our emerging readers, those of you who are in the little people world where you teach preschool, kindergarten, first, second grade, where your students aren't as strong of readers, this is going to be a great support. You can type in the answer or in the question. And also you can click the button. And so now it's recording my voice. I'm able to read the question. And then when the students have that, when that question pops up, if I spelled question correctly, when that question pops up, then they will have the text and the audio feature there. And yes, like Danielle said, you can also add read aloud questions to any new or existing questions. So going back to our Edpuzzle originals, if you're grabbing a video there, but you want to make sure that it has the questions, you would just go in and add those audio notes to those questions. That way they're able to be read aloud in that way. And then same with the questions here when you're adding those. So we're really excited about that. That's really amping up our ADA compliance and making Edpuzzle more accessible to more students. And that's ultimately our goal, to keep them safe and to be accessible to all students. So that is new, like I said, new this morning. I'll go ahead and type answer choice, answer one, and we'll say that is the right answer and not the right answer. Not the right answer. All right, I've got it checked to see which one is the right one and which one is the wrong one. I'm going to save it, and just so that y'all can see what that looks like. Come on, save. There we go. Then once I go into that multiple choice question, I am able to, oh no, my computer froze. All right, we'll see in a second. I'm going to finish it. And now I can go into that question and click the button. And so now I'm able, that's what it looks like from the student point of view. So they'll have the question here. It won't say question one. It'll say whatever the question is. And then they'll have the ability to read it. And then also here, answer one, not the right answer. All right. And then they're not the right answer. Ah, no, I don't want to listen to that anymore. And then they'll have the ability to submit, and they have that there. So I used to have a rule in my classroom that if you were watching a recording of me, you had to have headphones, because I did not need to hear myself any more than I already had to. So, all right, that's what that looks like. And then I can assign it from there. And I've gone from recording my own video all the way to assigning, all within Edpuzzle. I don't have to run or dig and search and find where did that recording go? Where did that video go? It's all right there. One thing I do also want to show is that we also have, when you choose the desktop option, you also have the option for a whiteboard. So I can choose which desktop and can draw on it, or I can record a whiteboard. And it's asking me which of my screens I want to record that whiteboard on. I'm going to do it here. Now you guys can see that I have a blank tab here, or a blank whiteboard here, and I'm able to annotate. If I clicked on it, I'm able to annotate, and that whiteboard section goes away in the middle. And so you can see here that you've got that option to do that as well. Again, you can also erase. You can pause it. You can pick it right back up where you were. Change your weightedness of your lines. So yes, awesome for math. And so that is something that we have as well. I was also down in, it made me stop sharing my screen. It did that the other day too. I guess when I do that with desktop, it does that. We'll go to this one. There we go. And so here you can see just the exact same thing as before. You can preview your video. You can make it public, make it private, choose to all the same things, rename it, and then upload the video. And it's there. If it ever takes longer to upload, or if it is a longer video, there's not a video limit to how long you can record these videos. But we always suggest best practices, and you can see here it's preparing. So I'll get a notification once it's ready to rock and roll. Any video practices, we always say best case is 10 minutes or less, depending on how old your students are. Obviously, the younger they are, the shorter we want these videos. But that's just kind of best video lesson practice. If you have 30 minutes worth of content that you really need to get to your high schoolers or secondary kids, or even elementary kids, just chunk it up. Put that video into Edpuzzle, chunk it up into a couple different ones. And soon we will have playlists available, which when I mean soon, I mean it could really be literally any minute now, because like those audio recorders, our audio questions came out this morning, and we noticed a little bit of a difference in what things look like when you go to assign a video lesson in preparation for getting ready for playlists. So this isn't quite part of our screen recorder, but I do want to, especially those of you who are familiar with Edpuzzle, this looks very different. So when you go to assign a video, this is now what this screen looks like. If you need to add a class in that moment, you can do so, or you can choose one of the ones that you already have. You can have, I don't have more than one student in there, but if you had more than one students, you could choose which students to assign those to or all, just like always. And then you go to next, and on the next screen is when your start and due date are. So instead of it all being on the same page, it's now split up a little differently, because what we will soon have is an option to add it to a playlist. And so once we have that option, then you'll be able to put 3 or 4 or 5 or however many videos together. And I feel like I say it's coming soon all the time, but Danielle and I were able to play internally with it. And so like we are just like our product team is putting the finishing touches on it and pushing it out as soon as we can. So as soon as we have that information, Danielle will communicate that with the people at your district and make sure that they know and that it's in y'all's hands. And so I'm not going to assign this one, but that's the newness. If Edpuzzle is familiar to you, then know that is new. It's the same steps, just in a little bit of a different format, so that we can have playlist rocking and rolling before too long. All right, really quickly, I do want us to do the Jamboard option for the screen recorder. So if you will click on that Jamboard, go to slide 3, or go back to the Jamboard. It's probably still open in your tabs. Go to slide 3 and put in some ideas of how you think you may use this screen recorder. There was already some ideas that were popped into the chat. Feel free to steal those or come up with your own, or reuse it if it was your own. But just a couple of minutes to add in some screen recorder stuff there. What are some ways you think you may use the Edpuzzle screen recorder in your classroom or in your instruction? Obviously, the easy thing to say would be to record videos, but maybe think specifically on what I love the idea of sharing with parents, how the concept was taught. So many times we've all of us who have been in classrooms have heard, this is not how we learn to do it. I don't know how to do math the new way. It seems to be the very specific quote that has been drilled in my head. So this is a great way to explain that and to show that. So Carol isn't able to access that Jamboard, but she's got a great idea in the chat to use the tool for a warm-up or for a closing. Thank you, Carol. One thing I didn't mention or forgot to mention with our screen recorder is that you are able to do a voiceover, or you're still able to cut it. So if you are like me and you end up chasing rabbits and going down a path of, oh my gosh, this is not what this lesson was supposed to be about at all, instead of having to re-record 87 different times to get the perfect video, we have obviously the ability to edit those out and to cut that out. So keeping that in mind there. All right. Yes. Also awesome. All right. Thanks for your participation, y'all. We are going to roll into our next one, which this one is going to be one that we just dip our toes in. We only have a few minutes, but you're able to add, I just like to remind teachers, you're able to add GIFs, emojis, images into your questions. It's really very simple. As long as you have a link, or if you've downloaded the images to your device, it is just walks you straight through. And then emojis, you're able to, use those as well within questions, and as well as answer choices. So your emerging readers, your ELLs, this is a great way to help, further support them in their new learning. Those of you who teach higher sciences or things that require a lot of images and diagrams and whatnot, this is a great way to get that in there as well. And then a GIF, if you just use a URL from, giphy.com, or you'll just select it, use the URL, and you can do it straight from there. So just like to remind you, also those of you who teach math and science, that functions key there, you're able to do all the actual, one, you're no longer is 1/4 of 1/4. It'll look like an actual fraction there. So if you're creating questions and answer choices, just know that is there as well. Notes are a great way to add in reminders to your students. You can add links and pictures and images into those as well. So if you want to link to the next section of whatever you're doing for that day, or if there's a graphic organizer or another landing page you need them to go to, you can do that right there within that note. You also have the ability to do audio notes, so you can read those to the students as well. We're not going to do a Jamboard on that. I want to spend our last little bit of time looking really quickly at student projects. And so if this is one that we are seeing that people are the least familiar with, so it's pretty easy to explain. It's basically you're flipping the script on your students. You're telling them what you're looking for, and then they are creating a video lesson and adding questions in that way. So the way that you start a student project is you go to this add content section, you click on student project, and it's going to bring you to this screen. And this is all you're going to do. So you're going to, create a subject depending on whatever that is, the goal, and then your instructions. Your instructions are the most important part of this, because best instruction, or making your instructions very clear, is going to be the best outcome for these projects. You have the ability to let students find a YouTube video and or upload a video. Please hear me. When you click the find a YouTube video, you're not allowing them to go out into the YouTube universe and gallivant out through all of that. It is taking them to YouTube videos that are housed within Edpuzzle. So if you're familiar with like YouTube versus YouTube Kids, it's kind of that same concept. They're not going out into YouTube. They're in YouTube Edpuzzle, I guess, if you will. And so, yeah, great bell ringer. This can be as big of a project as you would like, or as small, depending on what you're asking your students for. And then once you had all of that typed in, you would just do save or save and assign. What I want to make sure that you have, that you have access to, is these tips and tricks right here. So I just went through that and that as well. But here are going to be some ideas, ways that it's been used differently, and some example instructions. Our team has put together, like, if you are wanting to do it, these very specific examples of how to use these within the classroom. So we always say in the instructions to put them step by step if you're able to, because obviously that's going to help. Giving them very specific key terms to search if you're allowing that YouTube option. That's going to be something. These are some ideas from Edpuzzle users in the past that have used it. Great ideas, and as easy or as in-depth as you can. Obviously those passion projects was a lot more in-depth, but that skill building maybe wasn't quite as much. So these are some considerations. There's a lot of words on that page, but we felt that they were very important. If you're wanting to dive into student projects, these are very important things to kind of keep in mind and just have to help you set yourself up for success. If this is something that sounds really exciting to you, but you are a little bit nervous to try it out, I always say to get a group of maybe 3 to 5 students who are interested in, or who are willing to be kind of your fail forward friends, is what I called them in my class, where they were, interested in trying new things, but it wasn't going to send them into a tizzy if it didn't go well. But that they would also be able to kind of help brainstorm and problem solve. And so if you have kind of those failing forward friends that we call them in 5th grade, those are also great, a great way to kind of start without having to risk it on, using it whole group all at once and being nervous about that. The last thing I want to show us is Teacher Assist. This just came out less than a month ago. What I want you to see in Teacher Assist is it's kind of two-pronged. It's not kind of two-pronged. It is. And I have my eye on the time. I know we have 2 minutes left. Teacher Assist is two-pronged. 1, generate questions, and 2, auto-grade open-ended responses. So when you go into Edpuzzle, and let me share this tab instead. When you go into Edpuzzle and you find a video that you want to use, then you'll see when you go to the edit option and click on questions, you'll see this little magic wand. Now, at the last minute, I just want to tell you this is beta. So just know that as more teachers are using this feature, more teachers, it will get better. It's machine learning. And so you have the option for open-ended, multiple choice, or both. It's going to generate questions. This one only generated 1. Again, it is in beta. And so just keep that in mind. Usually it generates about the same number of questions as minutes per video. And so you're still able to go in, you can discard it, you can still edit it. And then the other part to that is if you have if you have open-ended responses in your assignment, like I had in this one, I've typed in my ideal answer. And then I'm able to click auto grade. It takes it a minute to auto grade. And once it's done, it will show me the answers that have been graded. I can see that these have been graded with the Teacher Assist. And so this one right here, I went in and I gave him partial credit. So you can see if you edit that as well. Okay, we are at time. Please, with all the time that you have, all the free time that you have, please take some time to just kind of go through. These are some things that are next. If you have questions, there's Danielle's contact information, some resources to share, and then our sponsors and donors from the BCS team. So there's just some more housekeeping stuff. You guys have been great. I hate that Danielle is sick, but I'm glad that I got to spend some time with y'all, some unexpected time with y'all. So thank y'all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.